The fluorescent lights of the gas station buzzed overhead as Sarah fumbled for her credit card, her hands trembling slightly. The group of men behind her grew louder, their comments more aggressive. "Come on, sweetheart, don't be shy," one sneered, stepping closer. She could feel their eyes on her, the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. But what they couldn't see beneath her long sleeves was the small Marine Corps tattoo on her wrist, a symbol of strength from a past she rarely spoke about. As the situation escalated and Sarah's heart raced, she had no idea that another customer had been watching. Someone who would recognize that hidden mark of service and change everything in an instant. The clock on Sarah's dashboard read 9:47 p.m. as she pulled into the dimly lit gas station on the outskirts of town. After a 14-hour shift at the hospital, exhaustion weighed heavy on her shoulders. She'd taken this route home countless times, but tonight felt different somehow. The station was nearly empty except for a few scattered cars and the harsh buzz of fluorescent lights casting eerie shadows across the pavement. Sarah stepped out of her Honda Civic, the cool night air hitting her face as she walked toward the pump. She kept her head down, muscle memory from years of trying to stay invisible in crowded spaces. Her long-sleeve scrubs covered the small Marine Corps tattoo on her left wrist, the eagle, globe, and anchor that she'd gotten during her second deployment to Afghanistan. Most people never knew about her 8 years of service. After transitioning back to civilian life, she'd found it easier to keep that part of herself hidden, especially in her new career as a trauma nurse. As she inserted her credit card, Sarah noticed 3 men loitering near the convenience store entrance. They appeared to be in their 20s, loud and clearly intoxicated. Their laughter echoed across the empty lot, but there was something unsettling about their energy. She tried to focus on the gas pump display, hoping to fill up quickly and get back on the road, but she could feel their attention shifting toward her, their voices growing quieter as they seemed to take notice of the lone woman at pump number 4. "Hey there, beautiful," one of them called out, his voice carrying across the parking lot. Sarah's jaw tightened instinctively. She'd learned long ago to trust her gut when situations felt wrong, and right now every fiber of her being was telling her to stay alert. She continued pumping gas, pretending not to hear them, but her peripheral vision tracked their movement as they started walking in her direction. The tallest of the 3, wearing a stained baseball cap, seemed to be the ringleader. "Don't be rude now," he said, stepping closer. "We're just trying to be friendly." His companions flanked him on either side, effectively blocking her path to the car door. Sarah's training kicked in automatically. She assessed her surroundings, noted the distance to the store, calculated potential escape routes. But with her car blocked and the attendant nowhere in sight, her options were limited. "I'm just trying to get gas and go home," Sarah said firmly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She'd faced insurgents in Helmand Province, survived IED blasts, and led Marines through some of the most dangerous terrain in Afghanistan. But civilian confrontations somehow felt different, more unpredictable, without the clear rules of engagement she'd grown accustomed to in military service. The second man, shorter but more aggressive, laughed mockingly. "Come on, don't be like that. We saw you pull up all alone. What's a pretty little thing like you doing out here so late?" He stepped even closer, close enough that Sarah could smell the alcohol on his breath. Her hand instinctively moved toward her wrist, a nervous habit she'd developed whenever she felt threatened. The movement caused her sleeve to ride up slightly, revealing just a glimpse of black ink beneath the fabric. As the situation escalated, Sarah found herself drawing on skills she'd hoped never to use again in civilian life. Her breathing remained controlled, her stance balanced and ready. She'd been taught to de-escalate when possible, but also to be prepared for anything. The gas pump clicked off behind her, but she made no move toward it, knowing that turning her back on these men would be a mistake. "Look, I don't want any trouble," she said, her voice carrying an authority that seemed to surprise them. For just a moment, the ringleader hesitated, something in her tone suggesting she wasn't quite the easy target they'd assumed, but alcohol and pack mentality quickly overrode any caution. "Trouble?" The third man chimed in, emboldened by his friend's laughter. "We're not trouble, sweetheart. We're just trying to show you a good time." He reached out as if to touch her arm, and Sarah's reflexes took over. She stepped back smoothly, positioning herself with better angles of movement, her body language shifting subtly but unmistakably into a defensive posture. What none of them noticed was the pickup truck that had pulled up to pump number 2. The driver, a man in his 50s wearing a weathered leather jacket, had been watching the scene unfold while filling his own tank. As Sarah's sleeve rode up again during her defensive movement, a shaft of light from the overhead fluorescence illuminated something that made him pause mid-squeeze on the gas handle. There, on her wrist, was the unmistakable outline of an eagle, globe, and anchor. His own Marine Corps tattoo, earned during Desert Storm, seemed to pulse with recognition under his jacket sleeve. The stranger's demeanor changed instantly. His jaw set with determination, and his eyes hardened with the protective instinct that never truly leaves a Marine. He'd seen enough. One Marine was in trouble, and that made it his business. He replaced the gas handle with deliberate precision and started walking toward the confrontation, his heavy boots announcing his approach across the quiet pavement. The stranger's voice cut through the night air like a command from a drill instructor. "Is there a problem here?" His tone wasn't loud, but it carried the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. The three men turned in surprise, clearly not expecting intervention from another customer. What they saw was a stocky man with graying hair and intense blue eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the situation in an instant. "Mind your own business, old man," the ringleader shot back, though his bravado seemed less convincing now that the odds had shifted. "We're just having a conversation with the lady here." The stranger stepped closer, his movement deliberate and controlled. "Ma'am," he said, addressing Sarah directly while keeping his eyes on the three men, "are these gentlemen bothering you?" There was something in his voice that Sarah recognized immediately, the respectful but protective tone of a fellow service member. She felt a spark of hope but remained cautious. "They were just leaving," Sarah replied, her voice stronger now with backup present. But the ringleader wasn't ready to back down, especially not in front of his friends. The alcohol had made him stupid and aggressive, a dangerous combination. "We weren't done talking," he said, reaching toward Sarah again. This time, the stranger moved with startling speed for his age, stepping between them and gently but firmly pushing the younger man's hand away. The movement caused Sarah's sleeve to shift again, and in the bright fluorescent light, the stranger got his first clear look at her tattoo. His reaction was immediate and unmistakable. His posture straightened, and something like reverence crossed his weathered features. "Marines?" the stranger asked quietly, his voice now carrying a different tone entirely. Sarah's eyes widened in recognition of what was happening. She nodded once, and the man's entire demeanor transformed. He rolled up his own sleeve, revealing a larger, more elaborate Marine Corps tattoo, with dates that spoke of Desert Storm service. "Gunnery Sergeant Mike Rodriguez, retired," he said, extending his hand with the formal courtesy reserved for fellow Marines. "Corporal Sarah Chen, discharged 2018, she replied, accepting his handshake with both hands in the traditional Marine greeting. The three harassers looked confused by this sudden shift in dynamics, but the change in atmosphere was palpable. What had been a vulnerable woman alone was now two Marines standing together, and the math had changed dramatically. "How long did you serve, Corporal?" Rodriguez asked, positioning himself so that he could keep an eye on the three men while honoring Sarah with his full attention. 8 years, 2 tours in Afghanistan, Sarah replied, her voice filled with quiet pride. 3rd Battalion, 8th Marine Regiment. Rodriguez nodded approvingly, clearly impressed by her service record. "Well, I'll be damned," he said with genuine respect. "Combat veteran. These boys have no idea who they're messing with, do they?" The ringleader shifted uncomfortably, finally beginning to realize that the situation had changed completely. What had seemed like easy prey was revealed to be someone who'd faced far more dangerous situations than 3 drunk civilians in a gas station parking lot. The transformation in Sarah was visible. Her shoulders squared, her chin lifted, and the confidence that had been beaten down by years of trying to fit into civilian life began to resurface. She was no longer just a tired nurse trying to get home. She was a United States Marine, and she was not alone. Rodriguez turned to face the 3 men directly, his voice carrying the unmistakable authority of someone who'd commanded troops in combat. "Gentlemen, I think there's been a misunderstanding here. This young lady is a decorated Marine veteran who served her country with honor in Afghanistan. She deserves your respect, not your harassment." His words carried weight that seemed to settle over the group like a heavy blanket. Shorter man was the first to back down, mumbling something about just having fun and starting to move toward their car. The third member of their group followed quickly, clearly uncomfortable with how the situation had developed. But the ringleader, his pride wounded and his judgment clouded by alcohol, wasn't ready to retreat. "I don't care what she used to be," he slurred, taking another step forward. "She's just another—" His words were cut short as Rodriguez moved with the fluid precision of someone who'd spent decades in military service. Without raising his voice or making any threatening gestures, he simply stepped forward and looked the young man directly in the eyes. "Son," Rodriguez said quietly, "I'm going to give you one chance to walk away and pretend this conversation never happened. Because if you finish that sentence, if you show one more second of disrespect to this Marine, you're going to discover that some of us old-timers still remember how to handle situations like this. And trust me, you don't want that education." The parking lot fell silent except for the distant hum of traffic on the highway. The ringleader looked between Rodriguez and Sarah, finally seeing them clearly for the first time. In Sarah's eyes, he caught a glimpse of someone who'd seen real combat, real danger, real violence, and had emerged stronger for it. In Rodriguez's stance, he recognized the coiled readiness of someone who'd spent a lifetime protecting others. Without another word, the ringleader turned and walked quickly toward his car, his friends already waiting with the engine running. As their vehicle pulled out of the parking lot with squealing tires, Rodriguez and Sarah stood together in the sudden quiet, two Marines who'd found each other in an unexpected moment. "Semper Fi, Corporal," Rodriguez said with a respectful nod. "Semper Fi, Gunny," Sarah replied, her voice so thick with emotion she hadn't expected to feel. That night at the gas station, something profound happened that goes far beyond a simple good deed. When Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez saw Sarah's Marine Corps tattoo, he didn't just see ink on skin. He saw a fellow warrior, a sister-in-arms who'd earned her place among the few and the proud. In a world where military service often goes unnoticed and unappreciated, that moment of recognition became a powerful reminder of the bonds that connect those who've served. Sarah drove home that night with tears in her eyes, not from fear or trauma, but from the overwhelming feeling of being truly seen and honored for who she was and what she'd sacrificed. For the first time in years, she rolled up her sleeves with pride, letting her tattoo show as she walked into work the next day. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person recognizing your worth to remind you of the strength you've always carried within. The brotherhood and sisterhood of military service doesn't end with discharge papers. It lives on in moments like these, when Marines find each other in the darkness and stand together as they always have. Rodriguez could have minded his own business that night, but he understood something that civilians often miss. When you see a fellow service member in trouble, you act. No questions, no hesitation, no exceptions. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of the heroes walking among us every day, please hit that subscribe button and share this video. Our veterans deserve our recognition, our respect, and our support long after they've hung up their uniforms. They've earned it with their service, their sacrifice, and their unwavering commitment to protecting the freedoms we all enjoy. Honor them by sharing their stories, and never forget that sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one whose battles you can't see. Semper Fi to all who serve, and to all who remember those who served before them.